Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Guilford Board of Education, and I'd like to take our Pledge of Allegiance first. This side.
They're both over there.
Summertime.
Moved.
I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and our chair, Mr. Bloss, is away on business, and I'd like to make one amendment to the minutes by adding as item 9.8 to receive for possible action revision to the 2019-20 school calendar, this year's school calendars for reason we discussed. Would someone make that motion?
I will make that motion.
I'll
Sec-
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is action on minutes, and 3.1 is the minutes from our July 8th, 2019 regular meeting. Someone make a motion to approve, and we can entertain any changes as well.
Motion to approve?
Second,
Second.
any amendments or discussion?
Yes. In 3.3, on the second page, where we're talking about the healthy food certification, at about the middle of the paragraph in the middle of the page here, act on regarding the exemption for food. And at the end of that paragraph, location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as it reads beverage sales. I think it should be food sales.
So this was right, already written up, language that we needed, Erica needed us to include as it was written. And the unfortunate thing is I don't have the write-up that Erica handed us.
No, I think, I know that we have received a confirmation that the new language met the needs that they were looking for, and so I would be cautious about changing it. I know that they've received it and responded already.
Okay.
All right, well, given that, why don't we leave it
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
it
no,
stands? We could
that's-
always attend to it later
Right.
Correct.
by a subsequent
Okay.
motion to amend. Any other revisions or amendments?
There was one more at the bottom of the second page where it was the review of the expenditures. It was noted that I seconded that, and I was not here at that meeting.
Makes it pretty tough.
Very well.
Does anybody recall who may have seconded that motion?
Tell me where it was, Amy, again?
It's at the end of page 2, item 5, review of the expenditures.
Well, it's far more likely to be one of the 6 people that were here,
I was the
which did
running
not
mate.
include myself.
I made the motion, so.
It quite possibly could have been me, so.
Great, thank you very
okay.
much.
Right.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
That make more
any
sense.
other changes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
3.2, and I abstain.
I had as well.
3.2 is our July 31, 2019 meeting. Motion approved.
So moved?
Second?
And any discussion, amendments, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. So public forum for topics on the board agenda only. Seeing our summertime attendance and knowing the items that are here, we'll move on to item number 5. 5 is review and approval of expenditures for March, July 2019. I know Mr. Sands presented these at the Operations Committee, and there was some discussion at length. Would you like to make the motions, Mr. Sands?
Yes, I would move that I'd make two motions. First, I would move that we accept the July 2019 financial report as it relates to the fiscal year 2018-19 with expenditures for the month of $596,357.52.
And the expenses in the corresponding warrant to that, correct?
Yes, and the warrants would be $702,673.15.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I would make a motion that we approve the expenditures for the month of July as they relate to the fiscal year 2019-2020. The expenditures for July were $2,883,419.10. That represented 7.2% of the budget as compared to 4.48% for that month last year. We discussed this in operations. This is primarily due to the timing of when certain annual fees are paid. And this year, we were a little more aggressive in paying them in the first month. And so I don't think that the difference is indicative of any issue that we will have in the future. The warrants for the month were $1,505,233.80. I'd make that as a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. On to communications. Did anyone receive any communications in the last month that I'd like to bring to our attention?
I did, relative to the 3 elementary schools beginning this next school year with 3 new administrators, principals. All the comments that I received were extremely positive. I'd like to commend Dr. Freeman and the search committee for doing such an outstanding job in such a short period of time to identify and ultimately to select 2 outstanding candidates, Kenesha Soley-Follette and Michelle Ham for Melissa Jones. And also I received some communications from between Leet parents speaking to some Cox parents about Mr. Leet.
Mr. Grimm?
Mr. Grimm joining, Mr. Leet. Mr. Grimm moving from Leet to Cox. There was some apprehension early on when they heard about that, but ultimately the decision was viewed very positively by the parents that I spoke to and received some emails about. As a matter of fact, I will also mention that parents were very appreciative of the fact that Mr. Grimm suggested and agreed to meet with the parents and students from Leet next Thursday, I think, on the 22nd at Jacobs Beach to help parents and their children address the loss. But again, appreciative of the selection of the 2 principals for Leet and Melissa Jones.
That's great, thank you.
I should say we had, just to revisit, we had 58 applicants for those.
59, it turns out.
59.
59 applications for those 2 positions.
Yeah.
In a really talented pool, and I think I know that we got the 2 best of the pool.
Unfortunately, ratifying and installing them into their new positions was not part of a public session, so our town could see the joy of having all the seats filled out there. It was really a terrific and fun meeting, July 31.
That was.
Any other communications? Okay. Well, there certainly are no student representatives today, so item 7 has no report. That brings us to item 8, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Gazen, and I'll keep my comments brief tonight. I do want to start, I just want to make sure that we formally inform the board that Our Lady of Mercy has returned to a permanent location in Madison. They will have no students in Guilford this year, and we will therefore have no financial obligations to that program running in school in Guilford this year. I do want to say that they were wonderful partners to work with. I enjoyed having them in town. I enjoyed the partnership. We were happy to be able to be helpful to them in the 1 year that they did spend here in town. We've got 3 very busy weeks coming up. I do want to note for the board that this week we will be hosting our annual administrative retreat on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We will be in Westbrook this year. A little bit to the point that Mr. Baglio made, there are 20 positions on our district leadership team. This year, 5 of those people did not attend last year's retreat. Now, there are some positions that were filled during the course of the school year last year, but 5 of those positions did not attend last year's retreat at all. And 8 of the 20 positions are people who are in new roles this year, different from the roles that they were in last year. So we do have an exciting agenda put together. On Wednesday, Dr. Michael Moody from Inside Education will be spending the day with us. We will be looking at topics of equity and identity and story in our schools and talking about how we can ensure that all of our students have equitable access to everything, all the opportunities that we offer here in the district. On Thursday, the day will be primarily facilitated by Dr. Crystal, and we will be looking at some of our instructional improvement history. We will be traveling back several years to look at what we have been doing and some of the instructional investments, improvement work that we have done, and making sure that that evolving team is grounded firmly in the work that we have done previously. And then on Friday, much of the day will be facilitated by Dr. Crystal and myself as we take the ideas of equity of access, individualness, and identity and bring that to bear on the history that we have had and begin charting the path forward for, again, this very new team. Next week, we have 2 days of new teacher orientation, and so Dr. Crystal and I will be hosting much of those days as we induct new teaching staff into our team. And then the following week, we return. The week after that, we have staff returning on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and students back on Thursday and Friday. So after tomorrow, summer really ends for those of us in the offices, and we begin this school year. And to your point, very excited about the team that we have returning and the opportunities that are in front of us this year. And then finally, I did want to update the board on enrollment. Particularly, we will have a formal enrollment report for you at your October meeting. But at this meeting, we like to particularly focus on elementary enrollments, and I'd like to draw your attention to the exhibit that you have in your folder. Specifically, I want to draw your attention to the kindergarten enrollment at Lakes that will be hitting 60 students before we open. On Friday, I approved a 4th kindergarten section at Lakes. So this is an unbudgeted teaching position. We budgeted for 3 sections at each one of our schools. I've talked with Mrs. Trudeau. We will find a way to absorb that. We're not going to change the budget. We will find a way to absorb this position. But when we moved to full-day kindergarten, there was a expectation that we would keep class sizes below 20. And so with 4 sections, you will see that Lakes doesn't even become the smallest kindergarten sections that we'll be looking at district-wide. I do want to draw your attention to the bottom right-hand corner of the chart. For previous years, we've been tracking an average K-4 class size of about 18.5. With this additional section, we're currently projecting class sizes around 17. That will change. We know that we will have students who continue to enroll, not just in kindergarten, but across the elementary grades in these next few weeks. So again, we will have a final report for you in your October meeting. October 1 is the official enrollment day. It's the official attendance snapshot that we take every year. I do expect to see some additional increases, but specifically wanted to make you aware of that additional teaching position. Mrs. Ryan has met with candidates, and I met with a candidate early this morning. We expect to have that position filled before we open on the first day of school.
What does it look like for overall enrollment?
Kindergartens have been tracking slightly higher in the last couple of years, but again, we appear to be relatively stable. We projected a slight decline this year, and again, I don't think that we will recognize the projected decline. I think that we will be we are going to decline a smaller number than we had projected. I don't see that we're beginning to bring in growing enrollment at this time, but we're essentially flat with minor decreases in enrollment.
So your goal of under 20 is for the kindergarten?
Kindergartens, when we went from half-day to full-day kindergarten, you know, we made the statement that we wanted to try to keep those class sizes below 20. And at this point, to have it reach 19 and 20 in the middle of August, knowing that we're going to get some additional enrollments, you know, no matter how hard we advertise and try to get the word out, there are always some students who enroll after that first day of school. So you never know if they're going to be at Lakes or in other locations, but if we were to open with only 3 sections and then get 3 or 4 students in, we'd have kindergarten classes at 21 and 22. Not unheard of in a lot of other Connecticut towns, but not what we had planned when we went to full-day kindergarten here in Guilford.
And what's the maximum you look toward for first, second, third, and fourth grade?
Kindergarten, we'd like to see a number in the teens. I would say for first and second grade, we wouldn't want to come out of the very low 20s. And for third and fourth grade, we wouldn't want to come out of the low to mid 20s. Again, you're seeing an average class size of 17 pre-K through 4. That's very generous. I do know that there are a number of Connecticut school districts, some of the districts that we sort of mark ourselves against, measure ourselves against, that would have third and fourth grade classes of 23s and 24s pretty comfortably. We have been able to avoid that the past several years. Even in those highest grades, you're seeing class sizes that are 19 and 20 in grade 3 and 4. Very few classes. On this piece of paper, you don't see a single projection over 20, I don't believe. Those are really positive class sizes.
So, the last many years, we don't have the full school, the full, all the schools in front of us, or all the grades in front of us, right? But I mean, I know that my kids graduated in classes of 275 and 269, and, you know, so, and we've been watching this, right?
Yep.
The lower grades. So these are gonna hit, you know, Baldwin at some point. But I'm guessing even if we're, you know, 20 students fewer, 30 students fewer, that's not going to have a significant impact at those schools, or we have to wait and see?
So likely not at Baldwin. Baldwin is currently structured on a 4-person team
Right,
structure.
so
And
that's
so those kinds of changes, and again, when you've got the students coming in, going from 4 smaller schools to
Right.
1 larger school, those sort of staffing levels are sort of already leveled, and
Right.
those minor differences wash out. There may be some conversation about staffing levels at Adams this year as we move forward. Some of those lower levels are moving, smaller classes are moving into Adams, where we're
Okay.
currently still built on a 5-person team structure.
Right.
So if you recall, and I didn't give you anything beyond elementary tonight, there are some class sizes that at Adams that are actually smaller than class sizes at Baldwin because of those team structures. So there may be some discussion of that with Mr. Regan as we look at this year's budget
Gotcha.
cycle. That would be the place that we're
That
more
we're gonna-
likely to
okay.
be looking. High school is sort of easier and more self-adjusting,
Absolutely.
and you see
Right,
some
right.
FTE adjustments up and down at the high school each year.
Yeah.
As we adjust to those classes coming in and going, and high school graduation requirements. Those are easier to adjust because of the departmental structure.
Right.
Team structures at the middle and classroom structures at the elementary make it a little harder to be that responsive to small changes.
Right, okay.
Thank you for that.
And that concludes my report this evening.
All right. So we're on to the board agenda, and 9.1 is to act on some personnel items. So the first one is the retirement of Paula McCarthy after 13 years at Melissa Jones School. and this is her effective date of her retirement would be August 23, 2019. Anyone care to make that motion with the regrets attendant to it?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I do just want
We
to,
should convey that we very much appreciate her excellent work.
I absolutely will share that, and I wanted to note, not only do we appreciate everything she's done for the past 13 years, but she was in a meeting with me on Friday. She was also very gracious about ensuring that she worked through this summer, has the school ready to open, and in fact has been spending time with Mrs. Han already, transitioning and helping to support that transition. So I will absolutely share the board's appreciation as well as my own.
Thank you. Thank you. And then 2 teacher resignations, Vincent Mascola from grade 4 after 12 years, and Jennifer Chekovets after 6 years of service from Lakes Elementary School. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the appointment of 6 new teachers. Alyssa Skibbo, Rex Sturdivant, Susan Perotti, Sabrina Husted, Kayleen Connors, and Michael Sazowski. May I have a motion to ratify those appointments?
So moved?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Very
I
good.
I would note that 4 of these 6 teachers have no experience, and 1 has only 1 year's experience. I know that we're trying to be sensitive to budget constraints, but I think we need to be a little bit more balancing on this. I mean, this is a lot of teachers with no experience.
Although I will note that 4 of them are coming with master's degrees, so there is some extra additional training.
And it's worth noting that the board packet reflects years of experience that are granted in their hire. Some of these teachers may be coming with service in private schools or other settings that don't translate to public service in the contract placement, but may be experiences they bring into the classroom. I know that the principals are excited about these hires, but Mr. Sands, it's a point well made and appreciated. Thank you.
Very good. Item 9.2 is to approve a $2,500 donation from the Guilford Foundation for a grant award to SEPTO, and you have that as an exhibit in front of you, to host the screenings of the movie Angst and host a series of talks. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Anyone with any familiarity on any of these
It's
approvals?
funny, I was so happy to see this, because I actually personally looked into this a little bit on my own, just after we had screenagers come through here, and it's a wonderful film, and it's very in cohesion with the format and the way that they filmed and presented screenagers, and I think it's gonna be really valuable for our students, so I'm really excited that they're bringing it here.
Dr. Farrell's exciting as well, so
Yeah.
I think these are both 2 great opportunities for the community, and we're very appreciative.
It's very
to SEPTA.
timely.
Yes, I
You know,
agree.
with our social emotional
Yep.
wellness, I think it's gonna be.
And I'm just going to mention, for those in the viewing audience who don't know, that SEPTO is a special education parent-teacher
Thank you.
organization. It's probably a less well-known
Acronym.
acronym at this point.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
9.3 is to approve a $3,000 donation from the Melissa Jones PTO for the installation of a new Melissa Jones sign, which you have as an exhibit. Appears about 4 feet by 2 feet.
I'll make the motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
I'll just note that Mr. Gurnham has approved this installation as well.
Do we happen to know the location by chance?
I'm sorry, specifically, yeah, I don't know. I do know that Mr. Gurnham reviewed the location and has approved it. I'd be cautious to try to to suggest that I could explain it well.
There's lots of places it could go.
And does Melissa Jones not presently have a sign?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, they don't? Oh,
Building is labeled, but I don't
Right,
believe that
no,
there is
no.
a
There's
street
no
level
sign,
sign.
there's
Yeah.
no sign in the parking lot or at the, on the entrance,
Is
no.
that funny? You drive into a place and you don't notice them? Yeah.
Another good example of our parent-teacher organizations.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 9.4 is a $4,447 donation from the Guilford High School Football Touchdown Club to pay the salary of an assistant coach. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's been an annual donation for some time, and it's very much appreciated.
Yes, it makes it possible to have sports like that.
Yeah.
When positions are paid by the, parent group entities. 9.5, $1,603.50 from the Guilford High School Stick Club to pay the salary of an assistant coach for field hockey.
Likewise.
So moved?
Second? And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, terrific. 9.6, to approve a $2,177 donation from the Guilford High School Stick Club for the purchase of uniform shirts. And you have as an exhibit the proposal there. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. 9.7, we're on to recommendations of the policy committee, and these are items that have been before us before, so these are action items. Dr. Balistraci, would
That
you like
is
to take
correct.
us through these?
Sure. Thank you. So the first, to remove Regulation 5430, which in itself is simply a form. It's an incident accident report form. This in no way suggests that we don't think this form is important. It is, but it is not appropriate within the policy and regulations for the Board of Education. We feel that it is much more important at the administrative level so that they can make changes they need to every year, and that doesn't require board action. So I'm going to make a motion that we remove Regulation 5430. Again, this is solely a form, incident accident report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Okay. The next is, the next two are policy and regulation. I'll talk about the policy first. This is policy 5510, immunizations and vaccinations. Our nursing staff has been paying attention to the policies and regulations in the handbook and updating them as necessary. As you can see, the suggestion here for the policy is to strike out the specific vaccinations that are required, as these are updated with some regularity, and keep the appropriate legislation so that anyone interested could refer to the legislation, but we would not, again, need the Board of Education Policy Committee and larger board to make changes every time a vaccination or immunization was changed. So I'm going to make a motion to request that the board approve this updated policy 5510, immunizations and vaccinations.
I'll second that.
And that's consistent with the policy committee's
Recommend-
ongoing effort to act on less is more. Is
Yes,
that correct?
exactly right. No, that's exactly right. Excellent.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Last.
And last is the regulation that accompanies this, 5510. Again, Ms. Nelber did a wonderful job going line by line through this, removing that which is either no longer relevant or, again, specific immunizations that may change on a regular basis. and identifying the appropriate legislation so that anyone at any point can look that up. So I'm going to make a motion that the updates to Regulation 5510, immunizations and vaccinations, be accepted by the board.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
All right. Okay, and then 9.8 is to potentially act on a revision to this year's school calendar to tend to an issue with the Connecticut SAT testing day. Who would like to discuss that?
So I'll begin.
Thank you.
So when you approved this year's school calendar, it included 5 early release days on Wednesdays, as has been traditional in the district. In March, we had identified Wednesday, March 25th, to be one of our early release days. Students are released early. Staff members use that additional time to complete professional learning activities. We were later informed, months after you had approved your calendar, that March 25th had been identified as the administration day for the Connecticut SAT. We would propose that we maintain the early release day, but we would like to move it 1 week forward to Wednesday, March 18th, so that it does not conflict with the administration of the SAT for all juniors enrolled here at the high school. We would, of course, if the board approves the change, make sure that we issue new calendars and that we send out notifications to every family, proactively notifying them of the change, and then changing all versions of the calendars that exist on our website and any of our communications. I do think that we have adequate time to notice this change, and I just think that it's required because of the administration that is required on March 25th. So I would ask for your approval, and then we'll take care of all the communications of the change.
So unlike typical items on the agenda where we like to put them on 1 month and leave them for discussion, this requires action in order to properly publicize it in the upcoming school year.
Yeah, I'd prefer to change it before the first day of school so that all of the calendars will be consistent and unchanged following that first day of school, or before that first day of school.
All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Makes sense.
All right. Well, may I have a motion for the proposed revision?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, we're on to reports of committees and the policy committee. Besides what we've just acted upon, is
Right,
there anything else to report?
No, the policy committee has not met in the last month. We will be meeting September, end of September.
The operations committee, is there anything to report, Mr. Sands?
Yes. In addition to the other things we normally cover, we had a meeting with our bus provider Specialty and talked about preparedness for the start of the school year, what they were doing so that we could expect a better start for the year. And frankly, we were impressed that they seemed to be on top of things. The proof of the pudding will soon be seen, but I think that they've done everything they can to be ready. And so I'm hopeful that we'll have a better start.
Terrific.
They've had the advantage, obviously, this time around,
Yeah.
of, right?
Yeah.
The bus company that's now been with us already 1 year.
Not rebuilding the software package.
Right, not rebuilding a software package and a schedule that will remain the same as last year as well, so.
Well, and they've got a workforce that they've had for a year.
Right.
so
No, they're in a,
Yeah, they're in a better position.
Much
We
better
all
position.
felt much better that
yeah.
they were ready to go.
Very good. Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Committee.
I believe we meet for the first time of school year in October.
Very good. Town liaisons, nothing to report from the Land Acquisition Committee, did not meet this month. Any other liaisons? I don't, pensions?
Pension committee is straightforward.
All right. Learn Board of Directors. I don't know that they had a meeting this month. did
I'm not
they?
sure if they met
Yeah.
over the summer.
Okay, public questions. Yes, please, come right up to the mic. You just tell us who you are and speak as loudly as you can. Thank you.
Okay, so Christian Pfeiffer, 51 Elizabeth Street, Guilford, Connecticut. And my question to the committee is, can I ask or talk about something possibly after the meeting has adjourned to the committee about something that is not directly related to the agenda that has been discussed during this specific regular meeting? Because I know that would go against the committee guidelines where I could only talk about what has been discussed in this meeting. So I'm saying, like, can I talk about something else that has not been discussed in this meeting?
You can feel free to approach any of the 9 of us at any time about anything, so it would go in that category, absolutely, of course.
Then I guess if it's all right with you, if we wouldn't take too much time away from you, members of the Guilford Board of Education, Paul Freeman, Superintendent Paul Freeman. Like I said, I'm Christian Pfeiffer. I've lived in Guilford, Connecticut since 2010. I've been through grades 5 through 12. I graduated Guilford High School class of 2018, and I'm currently enrolled at Wheaton College class of 22, and I'm joined a member of the Wheaton College Roosevelt Institute chapter. It was there where I enrolled into Roosevelt Nationals, had an annual 10 idea competition where I wrote a policy proposal that became one of 10 ideas published online from hundreds of submissions, which gets to the point of the matter that I'm trying to express today, is that I am looking to see if there is any interest, if there's a possibility, or if it is feasibly possible to introduce some sort of digital citizenship into the Guilford High School public school curricula. I know that the Guilford Board of Ed and the administrations is very much like a machine, and you have to kind of put everything together. So obviously, it can't already be approved because of the budget, but I'm wondering if there is any sort of interest in that matter or anything in regards to that.
I think Dr. Crystal and I would be happy to meet with you and have a conversation. I do know that Mr. Bloss forwarded me, I believe, the brochure that you had put together. I believe
Yes.
you shared that with him, so I've read some of your suggestions. Dr. Crystal and I would be happy to meet with you and discuss that with you.
All right, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Terrific.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other members of the public? Seeing none, we're on to executive session. We're going to convene an executive session for purposes of discussing negotiations. At the end of that, we'll reconvene public session for the purpose simply of adjournment. No other items will be discussed. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.